The sky was calm that morning. Birds flew above the quiet fields of New Hampshire. Children played outside. Farmers worked their land. Life moved slowly and peacefully, just like any other day. Nobody knew that everything was about to change. Not just in New Hampshire, not just in America, but across the entire world. At exactly 10:42 a.m., something strange happened. The sky cracked. That's what it looked like to the people who saw it. Not lightning, not thunder. A strange, sharp crack, like glass breaking across the clouds. Then, silence. For about 3 seconds, the world held its breath. Then, the light came. Bright. White. Blinding. Like someone had turned on the sun a little too close to Earth. Drivers stopped their cars in the middle of the road. School kids stared at the sky with open mouths. Soldiers in secret bases jumped to their feet. The light hovered in the sky like a door made of energy. And then, it opened. A shape appeared. Long. Thin. Like a tower floating sideways. Smooth. And dark, almost like stone, but glowing softly at the edges. It floated down slowly, without sound, without fire. Dozens of similar objects followed behind it, forming a wide arc across the sky. People began to scream. Some ran. Some dropped to their knees and prayed. Others filmed everything on their phones, streaming it to the world. One farmer dropped his pitchfork and whispered, "It's the end." The first contact, within 2 hours, the United Nations called for an emergency meeting. Leaders across the globe left everything and gathered through secured calls. Military jets surrounded the landing sites, but the strange ships didn't attack. They didn't move. They just hovered, quiet and still. No weapons were visible. No doors opened. No sound came until 4:17 p.m. From the largest ship, a small sphere floated downward. It was about the size of a basketball, glowing faint blue. It landed gently in a park in Germany. People backed away as it began to make a soft humming sound. Then, it spoke. Not in German. Not in English. In a voice that had no accent, no emotion. A voice that seemed to speak into everyone's head at once. "We mean no harm. We come from the stars. We seek communication." The world paused. Some people celebrated. Some fainted. Some still believed it was fake. A trick, a prank, a hallucination. But deep inside, everyone knew. This was real. The reactions. Not all leaders wanted peace. Some believed it was a trap. In a secure U.S. military base, General Morrison stared at the footage, then at his officers. "We don't know what they want. They didn't ask for anything," he said. "That's the scary part. They didn't demand. They didn't threaten. They just arrived." One officer leaned forward. "Sir, they landed in peaceful zones. No weapons shown. Maybe we should wait." But Morrison shook his head. "I've seen war before. When someone knocks on your door without reason, they're either lost or hiding something." The first shot, 3 days after the landing, a U.S. military drone flew too close to one of the alien crafts. It disappeared, not destroyed, not shot down, just vanished. One moment it was there, the next, gone from radar. Panic spread fast. Across social media, wild theories appeared. Some said the aliens were eating machines. Others believed they were testing human technology. In secret, General Morrison gave the order. "Take one down, quietly, just one. Let's see what they're hiding." Missile was fired from a submarine deep in the ocean. It hit one of the smaller alien crafts over the Pacific. There was no explosion. Instead, a soft blue wave rippled across the sky like a water drop in slow motion. The craft fell, silently, into the ocean. The aliens had not responded. Yet, the warning, the next morning, every screen in the world, phones, computers, TVs, flashed the same image. It was not a symbol. It was a face. Long, thin, pale skin. Large eyes, no mouth, no nose, just glowing white eyes staring directly at the viewers. Then, the voice returned. We offered peace. We were met with violence. This is your first and only warning. You are not ready." Then the image vanished. 10 seconds later, every city with a major military base lost power. Every aircraft in the sky landed automatically. Every weapon system was shut down. No deaths, no explosions, just silence. Control was gone. The people. While governments panicked, the people began to see things differently. A woman named Alina in India knelt in front of one of the silent crafts and sang. A boy in Brazil drew the alien shapes in chalk across the streets. In Kenya, a group of students formed a circle and meditated around the craft. They felt something, peaceful, calm, as if the ships gave off an energy that quieted the mind. Some people believed the aliens were gods, others called them demons, but most just watched, waited, the unexpected turn on. The 6th day, something strange happened. The aliens opened a door, not a big one. A small slit appeared in the side of a floating ship in Japan. From it, a thin figure stepped out, tall, pale, the same as the face shown before. It walked toward a group of scientists. No guards, no weapons. One scientist stepped forward, a woman named Dr. May Harada. The alien held out something small, a cube, glowing gently. Dr. Harada reached out and took it. The alien spoke, this time aloud. "Begin with this. It will teach you." Then it walked back, entered the craft, and the door closed. The scientists were stunned. The cube was warm, alive. It began to show them moving symbols, patterns, sounds, images, knowledge, blueprints, something more advanced than anything humans had ever seen. Divided world. Not everyone was happy. General Morrison watched the footage and slammed his fist on the table. They're picking people, giving tech to civilians. That's not peace, that's control. He called for a strike team. Next time one steps out, we capture it. No more waiting. But others refused. World leaders were now divided. Half believed the aliens came to help. The other half believed war was coming. A warning ignored. Day 8. Another figure stepped out in Australia. This time, a group of soldiers surrounded it. The alien paused. Its eyes glowed brighter. It spoke. "You were told." Then the sky cracked again, only this time, not to open, to strike. Blue lightning shot from the sky, not random. It hit only the weapons. Guns melted, tanks flipped, helicopters turned too. Dust midair. No humans were harmed, but the message was clear. We control the rules now. The beginning of war? General Morrison met secretly with 4 other military leaders. He believed humanity had one chance left. "They said we're not ready," he said, "but I say we prove them wrong." He wanted to create a plan. One attack, one moment of surprise. We take the cube, we stop the spread, and we show them we're not afraid. That night he launched Project Nightfall. Unknown to the world, unknown to the peaceful people praying by the ships, unknown even to the alien watchers in the sky. But someone was watching Morrison too, a young janitor in the base, a black man named Otis. He had heard too much, seen too much, and when no one was looking, he grabbed a copy of the attack plan and slipped it into his coat. The next morning, Otis vanished. But the countdown had already begun. Otis Carter was no soldier, he was a janitor. Every morning at 5 a.m., he cleaned the long halls of Blackstone Military Base in Virginia. He swept the floors, emptied trash bins, and made coffee for the officers who barely noticed him. But Otis had sharp eyes. And he listened. He never asked questions. He never spoke unless spoken to. But he remembered faces, voices, secrets whispered too loudly. And now, he had seen something he should never have seen. The secret pilot had been late. Otis was cleaning near the war room. The generals had left in a hurry, coffee still warm on the table. He moved quietly, picked up the papers scattered on the floor, and that's when he saw it, a folder marked Project Nightfall Level 5. Otis didn't understand all the words, but he understood enough. It was a plan to attack the alien ships, not just one, all of them, at the same time, using weapons hidden deep underground connected by satellite. It would be the first and final strike. The file said, "No survivors expected. This is a preemptive operation to reclaim Earth." Otis felt cold all over. "Reclaim Earth?" he whispered. "Ain't nobody taken it yet." A dangerous choice. He stood there, frozen. He could pretend he saw nothing. Throw away the file, or he could act. Otis looked at the walls. The cameras were off. It was late shift. He slid the file inside his old brown coat and walked out as calm as he could. But his heart was pounding. He knew one thing for sure. If the attack happened, the aliens wouldn't forgive. Disappearing Otis didn't go home. He caught a night bus heading out of town. He kept his head low and sat at the back, watching every car that passed. A black SUV drove by slowly. He pulled his cap lower. He had to find someone who would listen, someone who could stop this. Not the military, not the government. He needed to go deeper, someone who still believed in peace. A hidden friend. Otis remembered someone. A woman named Mara James. She was once a top government translator. Years ago, she quit her job and vanished. People said she had gone soft, started living off-grid, but Otis knew the truth. Mara had seen something. Something about how the government really worked. She had helped him once before. Now, he needed her again. The meeting. Otis took 2 more buses and walked 6 miles through the woods. He reached a small cabin in the mountains. It was quiet, surrounded by trees and birdsong. He knocked once. No answer. Then he said softly, "Mara, it's Otis. It's about the ships." The door opened just a crack, then wider. A woman with sharp eyes and gray hair looked at him. She didn't smile. She just stepped aside and said, "Get in. Tell me everything." A hard truth inside the cabin. Otis showed her the file. Mara read quickly. Her face grew pale. "They're calling it Nightfall," she whispered. "That means it's real. They're going for total shutdown. They're afraid of what the aliens are teaching us." Otis nodded. "They're attacking in 2 days, at midnight." Mara stood up. "We have to warn them." Otis looked confused. "The aliens? How?" She opened a drawer and pulled out a small glowing disc. "They gave this to me, years ago, when I first translated one of their messages. They said I'd know when to use it." Otis stared. "You think they'll listen to us?" "I don't know," she said. "But we have to try, or we all die." Back at the base meanwhile, General Morrison was getting nervous. "Carter's missing," a soldier reported. "We think he took the Project Nightfall file." Morrison's eyes narrowed. "A janitor?" "He's not just a janitor," the soldier replied. "He's former field intel. He cleaned up his record, stayed out of trouble, but he's smart. And quiet." Morrison cursed under his breath. "Find him. If he reaches someone who talks to the ships, it's over." The message. That night, Mara activated the alien disk. A soft light floated upward, forming a small sphere. It blinked once, twice, then spun quickly and hovered in place. A voice came. Not human, but gentle. "Why do you call?" Mara stepped forward. "We bring a warning. There's a plan, a secret strike. It will happen soon. Please listen." Otis held up the file. The sphere floated closer. Then, suddenly, it shot upward and vanished into the stars. Otis turned to Mara. "Do you think they got the message?" Mara looked up at the sky. "I hope so. Because if they didn't, we're all already dead." The response at dawn, across the world. Something strange happened again. Every alien ship that had been floating in silence began to glow. Not red, not angry. Just awake. People gathered near them. Fear returned. The news showed footage of the ships moving slowly, rising just a little higher in the sky. No message came. Not yet. But something was changing. Morrison's moved back at the base. General Morrison watched the footage. "They know," he said. He turned to his officers. "Launch Nightfall early. Tonight, no more waiting." "But sir," one officer said, "our weapons may not work. What if it triggers a response?" Morrison didn't blink. "If they came to rule us, they'll do it anyway. We strike now, or we kneel forever." Otis's decision. Otis and Mara didn't sleep. They moved quickly, using old connections. Mara sent messages to peace groups, scientists, anyone who might slow the launch. But the military was fast, quiet, powerful. Otis sat by the window as the sun set. He turned to Mara. "I think this might be the last sunset we ever see." Mara looked down at the alien disk. Then, for the first time, it glowed again. A voice returned. "We heard your warning." Midnight was approaching. Otis sat near the fire, his hands trembling. Mara was outside, checking their signal boosters. One last time. The disk from the aliens now floated silently above their table, glowing soft blue. It hadn't spoken again. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. 17 p.m. Otis looked up at the sky. It was too quiet. No birds, no wind. The forest felt frozen in time. Something was coming. Back at the base, General Morrison stood in the war room, staring at the large screen. A countdown had begun. 0, 42, 19. His officers stood around him, nervous, silent. Each one was connected to a separate strike command. If one failed, the others would continue. Morrison had designed it that way. No way to stop it once it started. One officer spoke up quietly. "Sir, the ships are glowing. Some of them are moving." "I see them," Morrison replied. "This is it. The aliens made their move. Now we make ours." No one cheered. No one smiled. Not even Morrison. He just stared at the screen. "If we fall tonight, at least we fall fighting." Whirled in silence. Across the globe, the ships began to rise, just a few feet off the ground, in Paris, in Cairo, in New York, in Tokyo, in Rio. People held their breath. Some ran to bunkers. Others stayed to pray. Millions watched on phones and TVs, live streams filled with glowing ships and rising fear. The aliens didn't speak. They didn't attack, but everyone could feel it. The balance was shifting. The final call at 11:41 p.m. The disk in Mara's cabin blinked red for the first time. Otis leaned closer. "Red's not good, right?" The disk spoke in a low, heavy voice. "We received your message. But others on your world are still choosing destruction." Mara stepped forward. "Please, there are people who want peace." "We know," the voice replied, "but time is short. Tonight you must choose too." Otis frowned. "Choose what?" "One door opens. One closes. We will show you both." Suddenly the cabin filled with light. Otis and Mara saw two visions, one in each eye. The first future in Otis's left eye, he saw a burning earth, cities on fire, skies turned black, ships, alien and human, crashing into oceans, people screaming, nations fighting each other while the real enemy remained unseen. Fear. In this future, Nightfall had succeeded in starting the final war. The second future, in his right eye, Otis saw a green earth, aliens walking beside humans, schools teaching both science and star travel, clean water, free energy, no borders. But there was something else too. Surrender. No, more guns, no more secrets. Humanity had survived, but only by giving up control. The choice. The visions faded. The disk hovered silently. Mara whispered, "It's not just about survival. It's about who we become." Otis felt the weight in his chest. Then he looked at the file, the one he had stolen, still in his coat pocket, still able to stop the strike, but only if he did it now. He stood up. "How do I stop Project Nightfall?" The disk glowed white. "Go to Site 14, Northern Ridge, underground bunker. There is a manual override. Mara looked shocked. How do they know our systems? Otis shook his head. Because they've been watching us longer than we knew. The race Otis and Mara jumped into her old Jeep. The road was rough, dark, filled with fog, but they didn't stop. Otis held the disc tightly in his hand. If they didn't reach the site in time, nightfall would trigger, the world would burn. At sight. Ford at 11:56 p.m., they reached the bunker. It was guarded. 4 soldiers stood outside, confused by the sudden alarm inside. Otis got out, holding up his hands. You don't understand. I work this base. I have clearance. We have to shut it down. The soldiers raised their weapons. One shouted, "Nobody gets in." Then, a blinding light fell from the sky. Everyone froze. Above them, a small alien craft hovered silently. From it, a soft voice echoed across the field. Let them pass. The soldiers fell back, terrified. Otis and Mara ran down the steps into the bunker. The override inside. The red light was flashing. 1:47. Otis moved fast. He entered codes he remembered from years ago. Mara read coordinates from the file. The system resisted, locked, then blinked green. Override requested, confirm? Otis slammed the button. Confirm! A loud alarm sounded. Then, the countdown froze. Quote 39, then shut off. Silence. The aftermath. Across the world, the alien ships dimmed again. The sky returned to normal. No war came. No fire. The aliens had waited, and now they had seen. Humanity still had people who chose peace. Otis fell to the floor, breathing hard. Mara sat beside him. Outside, the stars shone brighter than ever before. The world didn't explode. The war didn't start. Project Nightfall was shut down, with just 39 seconds left. But peace didn't follow. Not yet, because humans, especially those in power, do not forget when someone ruins their plans. And now, Otis Carter had a target on his back. The morning after news spread quickly. Global networks reported, military strike aborted at last minute. Unknown hack stops global operation. Who saved the world? But no one knew the full story. Not yet. Otis and Mara stayed off-grid. They watched from a quiet cabin in the hills. No phones, no signals. Only an old radio crackling with broken news. Mara turned the dial. One station played a recording of General Morrison. This was an unauthorized breach. We are investigating. But let me be clear. This delay has placed humanity in greater danger. The aliens saw weakness. Otis sat back, shaking his head. He still doesn't get it. We didn't show weakness. We showed control. Mara frowned. The government isn't going to let this go. Morrison's anger at Blackstone Base. Morrison stood alone in his office. All the officers had left. He stared at the empty war table. A young soldier entered, saluting nervously. Sir, we have a name. Morrison turned. Who? Otis Carter. Sir, a janitor. Used to be in field intel. He's the one who accessed the Nightfall system. Morrison's eyes darkened. A janitor? The soldier nodded. He had help. A woman named Mara James. Morrison didn't respond. He just picked up a pen and snapped it in half. The offer. That evening, a small device landed near the cabin. No sound. No warning. Otis found it blinking on the grass. Mara picked it up carefully. It projected a soft blue light, like the disc before. Then a voice came. You stopped the strike. We thank you. Otis stayed silent. The voice continued. But your leaders will not forgive this. You need protection. We offer it. Otis raised an eyebrow. Protection? Like a shield? No. Like a choice. Come with us. Learn what we know. See the truth. Then return, if you wish. Mara turned to Otis. This could change everything. Otis looked at the stars. I just wanted to stop a war, she smiled sadly. Prepare. Maybe now. You start something bigger. Morrison's new plan. Meanwhile, Morrison wasn't finished. He couldn't arrest Otis. Not yet. Too public. Too risky. So he made another call, private, off-record, to a name not spoken in regular circles. Activate. Protocol echo. Find them. Remove them. Quietly. The voice on the other end replied coldly. Understood. Morrison stared out the window as the stars blinked above. This isn't over, he whispered. The journey begins. Otis and Mara stood in a field as the stars shifted above them. Then, one light moved differently. It came closer. Faster. Then stopped. Mid-air, a small alien craft, silent and smooth, landed before them. A door opened with no sound. Otis took a deep breath. You ready for this? Mara nodded. We're not janitors anymore. They stepped inside. The door closed, and the ship vanished upward, silent as a falling leaf. A new world. What Otis saw next could never be forgotten. The stars were no longer distant. He saw planets orbiting suns he had never imagined, cities floating in the clouds, beings of light, energy, and shapes beyond description. But they weren't monsters. They were teachers, observers, and they were watching Earth with curiosity and fear. Because humans had fire inside them, beautiful, but dangerous. The aliens were not afraid of Earth's weapons. They were afraid of Earth's rage. A secret meeting elsewhere, deep underground. General Morrison met with 5 shadowy men. They didn't wear uniforms. They didn't smile. Morrison placed a file on the table. Otis Carter stopped Project Nightfall. One man spoke. And now, he's gone, but he'll return. The man leaned forward. When he does, we shape the story. We control the world he returns to. We let the people love him, then we turn them against him. Morrison nodded. Public hero, private enemy. Another voice whispered, let him save the world, then watch them tear him apart. Otis Carter had always believed Earth was alone. Now, he knew better. He sat in a quiet chamber aboard the alien ship. The walls pulsed with soft blue light. There were no buttons, no screens, just energy, alive, aware, listening. Mara sat across from him, eyes wide with wonder. Neither of them spoke, because they weren't sure if they were truly alone in their thoughts anymore. The first lesson, the ship moved without sound, no gravity, no shaking, just motion through stars Otis had never seen. A tall figure entered. It looked human, almost, but its eyes glowed silver, and its skin shimmered like moonlight. Welcome. You have questions. We have answers. Otis nodded. Why? Us why Earth? The being paused. Because Earth forgot what it once was. Mara frowned. What does that mean? You are not the first humans to leave your planet. You are not the first to meet us. You are the first to forget. Otis leaned forward. What are you saying? Humans have been here before? Not just here. Across galaxies. In peace. And in war. A hidden Historia glowing wall came to life. Images formed. Simple, like memories. Otis saw tall pyramids, but they weren't on Earth. He saw humans stepping off ships, primitive ones, but powerful. 10,000 years ago, Earth was part of the Council of Origin, a place of learning, a home of ideas, but power grew, and fear followed. Otis watched as the humans in the vision turned against each other. Greed, control, fear of outsiders. The council fell. Earth went silent. Mara whispered, You erased us? No, you erased yourselves. The great silence. Otis stood now, angry. So what? Humanity was once great. Then we ruined it? The being didn't answer. Instead, it held. Out of hand. The wall showed Earth's wars, genocides, bombs, pollution, greed. Then, it showed kindness. A woman feeding a child, a soldier saving a wounded enemy, a janitor standing in front of a countdown timer, alone but brave. You are not broken. You are conflicted. That is why we watch. That is why we wait. Mara looked down. And if we never change, then you become your own destroyers. Back on Earth, General Morrison watched a silent screen. Otis and Mara were gone, no trace, no signal. But the public had started asking questions. Who shut down Project Nightfall? Why are the alien ships still here? And worst of all, is the government hiding something? Morrison met with the others again, the Council of Shadows. One of them lit a cigar and said, "We need a distraction, a new enemy." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "You mean, make the people fear the aliens?" The man smiled. "No, make them fear the traitors who sided with them. New skills, old ghosts." Back on the alien vessel, Otis and Mara trained daily. They were taught through thought. Lessons appeared in their minds like dreams, languages, star maps, ancient human symbols they had never seen but somehow understood. But each night, Otis had the same nightmare: Earth burning, Mara screaming, and a black vehicle watching from a distance. Just watching. One day, he asked the being, "Why do I keep seeing it?" "Because it's not just a dream, it's a memory of your future." Otis froze. "You mean, something's coming?" "Yes, and you must return. Earth is changing. Without you, it will break." The return Otis stood before a glowing gate. One step, and he'd be back on Earth. Mara touched his arm. "You sure we're ready?" "No," he said honestly. "But that's never stopped us before." As they stepped through, the stars blinked, and the gate closed. Back on Earth, storm clouds were gathering. News reports screamed, "Missing man returns. Was he abducted? Former janitor now claims contact with aliens." Is this the face of Earth's new enemy? Otis looked at the screen and realized something terrifying. They weren't coming after the aliens anymore. They were coming after him. Otis Carter was home, but it didn't feel like home anymore. He and Mara stepped out of the alien gate and into a cold, rainy forest on Earth. Their boots sank into the wet soil. The air smelled like smoke and metal. Far off in the distance, helicopters. Otis looked at Mara. "They know we're back." World on Edge news reports spread fast. Otis Carter spotted near Ridge Creek Forest. Arrest warrant issued for government hacker. Officials deny existence of alien training. People were divided. Some called Otis a hero. Others called him a traitor. Online, his name trended for days. Conspiracies exploded. Is he even human anymore? Did the aliens send him back to control us? Otis wasn't hiding because he was guilty. He was hiding because he understood one thing now. Fear makes people dangerous. Safe house in the hills. Mara guided them through the forest to an old cabin. It belonged to her uncle, a radio technician, who once worked off-grid. The windows were boarded. The roof leaked, but it had no cameras, no signals. Safe. Inside, Otis lit a fire. Mara checked a battery-powered radio. "They're still looking," she whispered. Otis sat down and stared at the flames. "This is how it starts," he said quietly. "Not with weapons, with whispers." Mara looked at him. "We need help." Otis nodded. But who could they trust now? Someone watches that night. Otis woke up. He heard a twig snap outside. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped out, heart pounding. The forest was dark, quiet, too quiet. Then, a shadow moved, fast, low to the ground. "Who's there?" Otis called. "No answer." He turned, then froze. A man stood 10 feet away holding something shiny. Otis stepped back, fists clenched. "You with the government?" The man chuckled. "No, Otis, I'm with your past." "A ghost returns." The man stepped into the light. He was tall, scar on his neck, eyes sharp. Otis's eyes widened. "Bennett? Still alive?" The man smiled. "Didn't expect that, huh?" Bennett had once been Otis's commanding officer, smart, fearless, and dead. Or so Otis thought. Mara stepped outside, confused. Bennett gave her a nod. "I came when I heard what you did, saw what you stopped. And now they want your head. Otis crossed his arms. Why are you here? Bennett leaned close. Because I know what's really coming, and it's not the aliens. The real enemy, inside the cabin. Bennett laid out a small black tablet. It projected a hidden report. Otis read the words slowly. Operation Black Echo, psychological reset of Earth populations by 2032. Goal, make aliens the enemy. Discredit peaceful contact, control the new age through fear. Otis whispered. They planned this before the aliens even arrived? Bennett nodded. They always knew. They just wanted to control the story. Mara sat down hard. They'll blame us for everything. Bennett agreed. Unless we get to the public first, not with emotion, with truth. The trap, but while they planned, the enemy moved faster. A black drone hovered above the trees, silent, invisible. It had already marked their location. Inside a hidden base, General Morrison watched the screen. Otis Carter is confirmed. Prepare strike team. One soldier asked, Do we bring him in alive? Morrison didn't hesitate. No, he's too dangerous. The escape. The next morning, Otis felt it, a pressure in the air. Then, gunshots. Bennett kicked over a table. Move! Mara grabbed the radio. Otis grabbed the tablet. They sprinted into the trees as smoke grenades filled the cabin. Red lasers danced between the trees. But the trio didn't stop. They ran deeper into the woods, toward an old signal tower. Otis shouted, If we reach it. We can broadcast, Mara yelled. Then let's show them the truth. They ran without stopping. Gunshots echoed behind them. Red lights scanned through the trees. The strike team wasn't searching anymore. They were hunting. Otis, Mara, and Bennett reached the bottom of a rocky hill. At the top stood an old signal tower, broken and rusted, but still standing. Bennett pointed up. That tower was built for emergencies. One broadcast from there can reach the whole East Coast. Mara checked the stolen tablet. The files are still here. Operation Black Echo. Alien recordings. Even Morrison's voice orders. Otis looked at the tower, breathing hard. If we make it up there, we tell the world everything. The climb, they moved fast using the trees for cover, but the forest was wired. Lasers, drones, traps hidden in roots. Bennett spotted a mine and pulled Otis back just in time. They want us to run into it blind. Otis frowned. Then we move. Smart. Step by step they crawled, jumped, ducked under beams. The wind picked up, carrying voices. Soldiers were getting close. Suddenly, bang! A drone exploded in the air. Bennett looked up. No way. That wasn't us. Otis turned and saw someone standing on the far ridge, a woman in a white hood, watching them. Then, she disappeared. The broadcast room. The trio reached the top. The tower was half collapsed, steel torn open, but the control panel inside still worked, barely. Mara hooked up the alien tablet. Static buzzed across the screen. Otis tapped the power switch. Lights flickered on, then a small screen lit up. Transmitter active, signal unstable. Mara whispered, We can only send one message. Bennett handed Otis the mic. Make it count. Otis's message. He took a deep breath, then pressed the button. His voice went out. Radio, satellite, live stream, pirate frequencies. It reached phones, TVs, and car radios across cities. My name is Otis Carter. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a soldier. I was a janitor. Until I stopped the war. You were lied to. There was no alien attack. There was no threat. We were the threat. I've been to their world. I've seen what we used to be before we forgot. They didn't come to invade. They came to warn us about what's coming next. The screen glitched. Otis shouted, We must remember who we are before they make us forget again. Signal. Lost the strike suddenly. Missiles hit the tower base. Boom, dust, screaming metal. The floor shook. Walls collapsed. Otis grabbed Mara, pulling her out. Bennett covered them, firing back. 3 black helicopters hovered above. Soldiers dropped down ropes. Red dots aimed for Otis's chest. Then, silence. Everyone froze, because something flew overhead. Not a chopper, not a jet, a black oval craft, smooth, silent, and not human. The soldiers looked up, and for the first time, they looked afraid. The warning. The craft hovered. Then a voice spoke, not through speakers, but in their minds. The truth has been spoken, now the test begins. Then the ship vanished, no light, no flame, just gone. The soldiers looked at each other, confused, scared. Otis stood slowly. We're not alone anymore. Morrison's response. Back at Blackstone Base, General Morrison stared at a dozen screens. Otis's message had gone global. His men failed to stop it, and the alien ship appeared on live feed. Phones were exploding. Protests, panic, belief, rage. Morrison turned to his private guards. Then we changed tactics. Otis Carter is no longer just a traitor. He tapped a button. Start Operation Phoenix. Make him the villain the world will beg us to destroy. One of them. Back in the forest, the trio hid near a riverbank. They were bruised, bleeding, but alive. Bennett sat with his back to a tree. You did it, he said to Otis. You shook the cage. Otis nodded. Now we see what comes out. Mara sat quietly, then spoke. That woman we saw on the ridge. She didn't move like a soldier. Otis looked at her. What are you thinking? Mara's eyes narrowed. I don't think she was. Human Otis Carter had no idea how far his message had reached, but deep in cities, towns, and even small villages, something had changed. People were waking up in the middle of the night, eyes wide, hearts racing, and one strange thing connected them all. They remembered things that never happened, languages they never learned, star maps they had never seen. Some drew symbols in chalk on walls. Others whispered names they didn't understand, but every single one said the same thing when asked. I saw him. The man from the tower. Otis Carter. Something has begun. Otis, Mara, and Bennett hid in the ruins of an old gas station. The sun had just come up. Smoke still floated across the hills behind them. Otis looked into the distance. We can't. Stop now, Mara agreed. The people are listening. Some of them. But Bennett wasn't so sure. They'll come harder this time. Not just soldiers. Hunters. Otis turned. What kind of hunters? Bennett looked grim. The ones who erase everything. Even memories. Unexplained events all across the country. Strange reports came in. A school in Atlanta had every student draw the same glowing spiral, without instruction. An old man in Canada woke up speaking a forgotten language, one not from Earth. In Tokyo, a mother said her baby floated for 3 seconds before falling back into her arms. Scientists were silent. Governments denied everything, and, still, the symbols spread, spray-painted on trains, carved into wood, burned into the ground, all with one phrase, we remember the stars, followed again. That night, Otis felt the air shift, cold, still, heavy. He stepped outside the gas station ruins, flashlight in hand. A breeze moved through the trees. He saw it again, a woman in white, hooded, silent, standing at the edge of the forest. He called out, Who are you? No answer. He moved closer, but when the light hit her, she was gone. In her place, a symbol burned into the dirt. An eye, watching. Who is she? Otis showed the symbol to Mara. She gasped. I've seen this. In my dream. Bennett frowned. Same here. Right before I woke up 3 nights ago. Otis didn't sleep for the rest of the night, because in his dream, he didn't see the eye. He became it, watching Earth from above, hearing voices from a galaxy he didn't understand, but somehow felt connected to. The gathering, meanwhile, General Morrison stood in front of a private screen. A secret live stream showed something terrifying. People gathering. Dozens, then hundreds. Now thousands, not to protest, but to stand in silence, under the stars. Some wore white robes, some held hands. All of them stared upward, waiting. A soldier beside Morrison spoke carefully. "Sir, we can't find any leaders among them. No messages, no orders, just stillness." Morrison slammed his fist on the table. "They're forming a new belief system without us. Shut them down." The voice returns. That night, Otis was alone by the fire. He whispered into the darkness, "What are we becoming?" And a voice answered, not from the forest but inside his mind. "Not becoming. Returning." Otis froze. "Who are you?" "You called us back. You awakened the others. Now they remember too." "Remember what?" "Who they were. And what must come next." Something's coming. The next morning, Bennett found a newspaper. On the front page, Otis Carter declared public enemy number 1, reward for his capture, 1 million. Otis looked at the photo, his own face, eyes edited to look evil. Dark shadows drawn across his skin. Mara whispered, "They're turning the world against you." Otis didn't blink. "They're afraid." Bennett nodded. "And when people fear truth, they destroy the one who speaks. It." Suddenly a device in Mara's bag blinked, not from Earth. "Alien tech," a single message flashed. "Time left 72 hours. Otis stared at it. "What happens in 72 hours? No one answered. 72 hours. That's what the alien message said. Otis, Mara, and Bennett sat in silence inside the ruined gas station. The strange alien device blinked with red light. Steady, slow. Time left. 71:12:37. "What does it mean?" Mara asked quietly. No one answered. Bennett finally spoke. "Something big is coming." Otis nodded. "And we don't have much time to stop it." A world changing across the world. Things were getting stranger every hour. 5 people vanished in broad daylight in a Paris subway. In Kenya, villagers reported a floating black cube that hummed music no one had heard before. A group of children in Brazil spoke the same dream, about a silver gate opening above the ocean. Governments blocked news, but phones captured everything. Social media overflowed. We Remember the Stars trended globally, and in every video, one symbol appeared again and again. The eye betrayal. Otis had just finished collecting water from a nearby stream when he heard rustling. He looked up. Bennett was gone. "Mara?" he called. No answer. He rushed back to the camp. The place was wrecked. Supplies scattered. The alien device missing. Then he saw something worse. On the ground, a military tracker. They'd been found. In custody. Otis didn't run. He waited. Black vans came within minutes. Helicopters circled above. Soldiers poured out. He raised his hands. They tackled him hard. No questions, no words, just silence. And then, a needle. The black cell. He woke up in a dark cell. Cold metal walls. No windows. No sound. His head ached. His vision blurred. Someone sat in front of him. Not a soldier. General Morrison. "You don't sleep well anymore, do you?" Morrison said. Otis said nothing. Morrison smiled. "You broke the world's mind, Otis. And now, the world wants someone to blame. Lucky for us, you're perfect." Otis stared at him. "They'll remember. You can't silence the stars." Morrison leaned closer. "That's where you're wrong. We're not silencing. We're resetting. Re-education begins. Over the next hours, or maybe days." Otis was shown screens. Lies. Fake videos of aliens attacking. News stories blaming him for bombings. Images of chaos with Otis's face burned into the corner. Each time, a voice whispered in his ear, "This is what the world believes now. This is who you are. You are not real." But Otis never spoke. He remembered the eye, the dreams, the voice inside him. He remembered truth. And truth doesn't die easy. Someone breaks in. One night, just as the lights went out in his cell. Otis heard something, a small beep. Then, click. The door opened. He sat up, confused. No guards, no alarms. Figure stepped in. White hood, glowing eyes. It was her. The woman from the woods. The one he had seen over and over again. Only now. She removed her hood, and Otis gasped. She wasn't fully human. Not anymore. The Guardian. She walked slowly toward him, her voice echoed in his mind. You held the truth, you lit the fire. Now the test begins. Otis stood up. Who are you? Once we were you. Before the fall. Before the wars. Before you forgot the stars. She touched his forehead. Otis fell to his knees. Flashes of light. Galaxies. Ancient cities in orbit. Planets covered in gold forests. Voices. Singing in languages never spoken on Earth. When he looked up, she whispered, in 48 hours, judgment arrives. And humanity must speak with one voice. She leaves a choice. She handed Otis a small device. Use this. Reach the world again, but choose your words wisely. Otis stared at it. What if we fail? She looked sad. Then Earth sleeps again, for 1,000 years. And just like before, she vanished. Back in the light, Otis escaped through an old tunnel system under the facility. How? He didn't know. But someone had opened the path. Outside, the sky had changed. 3 stars had appeared in the daytime sky, larger than any moon. People looked up, confused. Some cried. Some dropped to their knees. And the alien device Otis now carried, it had changed its message. Time left, 48 Sar. Choose the voice. The skies were no longer normal. People across the world stared up at 3 glowing orbs, stationary in daylight. Not stars, not satellites. Something else. Governments said nothing. News stations changed subjects. But the people knew. Something was coming. And somewhere, Otis Carter was still alive. Escaped, but hunted Otis moved quietly through the countryside. He kept the hood low. His face was everywhere, on screens, posters, and even mobile apps. Wanted, Otis Carter, terrorist, alien agent. But not everyone believed the lie. In small towns, strangers gave him food. Children smiled at him. A few whispered, "We remember." Otis felt hope, but also fear, because he knew what Morrison was planning next. Inside, Blackstone Base General Morrison stood before a massive hologram of Earth. Behind him were men in black suits, white uniforms, and gold medals. One man said, "The symbols are everywhere. Over 2 million citizens now claim to hear things." Another added, "Religious leaders are losing control, and science can't explain anything." Morrison turned to them. "Then it's time." He pointed to a new file. Operation False Light. The setup in the dark side of Earth's orbit. Hidden satellites began to move. Inside them were drones shaped like alien ships. They were built years ago, secret tech, hidden from the public. Morrison gave the order. Launch them. From the Atlantic, the Pacific, and from above cities, black ships descended. They hovered over New York, Delhi, Cairo. London. News cameras rolled. People screamed. Phones captured everything. Morrison appeared on every screen. "This is what Carter brought upon us. You wanted aliens? Now they're here. The only way to survive is to destroy everything." He started. Otis seized the lie. Otis watched from a hidden bunker. He recognized the ships. He'd seen them in old secret files, human-made. But now, millions believed they were alien invaders. And just like that, fear returned. Fear drowned truth. Mara's voice came over a hidden radio. "They've activated the pulse net. They're blocking all honest signals." Otis looked at the small alien device in his hand. It still blinked. Time left. 36:27:15, he whispered. "We need to break the sky open." The old friend returns that night while Otis moved through the woods. He was grabbed and pulled into a trench. He turned, ready to fight, but it was Bennett. Face bloody, jacket torn, but alive. Otis stared in shock. You left us. Bennett nodded, ashamed. I gave them the device. I thought they'd stop. But I was wrong. Otis looked at him. Will you help me now? Bennett answered. I came back because I saw one of the real ones. Otis froze. The real what? Bennett whispered. Ships, not fake ones. One rose from the ocean. It wasn't ours. The Rising. Somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, something massive rose from the deep. Cameras couldn't focus on it. Water curved around it like it feared the shape. Fishermen saw it. They forgot how to speak. It wasn't loud. It didn't attack. It just rose and hovered, blocking the moon. Then, without warning, every real alien symbol around the world began to glow. People fell to their knees. They didn't feel fear. They felt remembered. The final Calidus and Bennett returned to Mara. Together they activated the last hidden tower near the Appalachians. The alien device synced. Only one signal could go through the pulse net. Otis held the mic. He looked at Mara, then at Bennett, then at the stars. He pressed the button. They faked the invasion. The ones you fear aren't real. But something greater just arrived, and it did not come to destroy us. It came to see if we've grown. Don't let them speak for you. You have your own voice. Use it. You are not slaves of fear anymore. You are children of the stars. The world responds. For the first time, soldiers dropped their weapons, citizens stopped running, people looked up and listened. Across every country, a wave of remembering began. People lit candles, they formed circles. They pointed to the sky, not in fear, but in recognition. Morrison's last move back at Blackstone. Morrison was furious. He shouted, "Shut it down!" But something in the servers exploded. Systems went offline. The fake ships fell, lifeless, into the sea and deserts, and over every screen for just 1 second, a symbol flashed. Then, darkness. Silence. Peace. The new Sky Otis stood outside the bunker. The sky above was filled with light, soft blue trails like rivers of stars. The alien device spoke for the first time in its own voice. Now we watch. Now we wait. Otis looked at Mara and Bennett. He smiled, then whispered, "Maybe now they'll remember who they are." The skies were calm again. The fake ships were gone. The countdown still ticked. Time left, 24:08:42. Otis stood on a hill, watching the world below. Fires had stopped. Sirens had fallen silent. For the first time in weeks, there was peace. But it was not over. The real test was about to begin. New voices, new powers across. The world. Something was happening to ordinary people. A young girl in Mexico lifted a stone slab with one hand. An old woman in Nigeria spoke a forgotten language, and animals listened. In France, a boy touched a dead tree, and it bloomed, with green leaves. Doctors couldn't explain it. Leaders were confused, but Otis understood. They're waking up, he told Mara. The knowledge is returning. The dream that wasn't a dream. That night, Otis dreamed again, but this time, he didn't see galaxies. He saw Earth. He walked through streets where people glowed with soft blue light. They weren't flying. They weren't superhuman, but their eyes held peace. Wisdom. Unity. Then a voice said, "This was the future once." Then fear stole it. "Will you let them steal it again?" Otis woke up in sweat. The alien device blinked. Time left, 21:34:18. Decision point reached. A meeting in the shadows. In a cold steel room deep under the Rocky Mountains, a private meeting began. Former leaders, billionaires, secret generals. They had survived the chaos. They had one goal now: take back control. One man said, "The people believe in Carter now. In peace, that's dangerous." Another added, "We must act before they forget their fear." A third pulled out a device. It glowed red. We still have a weapon. Bennett's fear back at the mountain base. Bennett stared into the sky. He looked afraid. I feel something, Otis, like something huge is coming from underground. Mara asked. Underground? He nodded. Not alien. Old. Buried. Waiting. Otis frowned. The real enemy. No, Bennett whispered. The punishment. The first to fall reports came in from around the world. A river in India turned black overnight. Fish floated lifeless. A village in Norway disappeared completely. Not destroyed. Gone. In Australia, a man walked into the desert and never came back. But his shadow stayed behind, moving without him. Otis read the headlines. He understood. The test has begun. The shadow speaks that night. While Otis meditated, a figure appeared in the firelight. Not the woman in white. Not human. A dark shape. Shifting. Watching. It didn't speak with words, but with feelings. Otis closed his eyes. He saw civilizations long gone, planets judged and left in silence, species that failed because they chose war. Then he heard the voice again. Will Earth choose growth or comfort? Truth or control? The signal is sent. Mara finally finished rebuilding the alien transmitter. It was small, but powerful. Otis held it. If I send this message, he said, every sleeping mind will hear the call. The choice will be theirs. Mara nodded. But Morrison's people will hear it too. Bennett added. And they'll respond with violence. Otis thought for a long time, then pressed the button. A soft pulse echoed across the skies. Not sound. Not light. But memory. Every person on Earth felt it for a second. A warm light behind their eyes. A sense of something bigger. And a question. Are you ready to remember? Earth divides. The world did not respond with one voice. Some opened their arms. They cried, smiled, hugged strangers. They whispered, I remember. But others panicked. They ran. They fought. They denied. And in hidden rooms, Morrison's old allies gathered weapons. They activated Project Black Silence. One final message. The alien device changed. It now showed a map of Earth and a glowing red ring under the ocean. Otis stared. Mara asked, What is that? The device answered with a new message. Final trial begins in 12 gurus. If they attack, the gate will close. Otis's hands trembled. He whispered, We're out of time. Time left, 12 votes. The countdown had started. The alien device glowed a deep gold now. Not blue, not red. Something was changing. Otis Carter stood in the clearing with Mara and Bennett. The air felt different, lighter, quieter, but the silence wasn't peace. It was the kind before a storm. Earth. Reacts people around the world began to feel it. Some said the wind had a voice. Others saw lights in their dreams. Children drew circles and stars, symbols they had never learned. In some places, plants grew faster. In others, machines stopped working. And in the oceans, something began to rise. Not a ship, not a weapon, a gate. The gate opens. Just before dawn, the Pacific Ocean glowed. A ring, miles wide, appeared in the water. Inside it, there was only darkness. No waves, no sky reflection, just black. Boats moved away, satellites shut down, and the alien device spoke. The gate opens only once. If war enters, it closes forever. Otis stared. He whispered, This is the test. Morrison returns. Deep underground, in a steel room lit by red lights, General Morrison smiled. He was still alive, still in power. His voice echoed over a private channel. We do not kneel to shadows and whispers. Earth belongs to humans. He turned to his soldiers. Launch Black Silence. Black Silence rises. From hidden bunkers, 10 ships rose into the sky. Black, sharp, built for one thing, to destroy the gate. Each one carried a dark core, a weapon that could collapse space. They moved fast, flying low across the ocean. People saw them on news reports. Some cheered. Some cried. Otis watched from the mountain. Bennett said, "They're going to kill us all." Otis answered, "No. They're going to kill themselves, unless we stop them." The message of choice. Otis climbed the hill near the transmitter. He sent one final message to the world. Simple words. This is not about aliens. This is about you. You are being asked one question. Do you follow fear or do you follow memory? The gate is not a gift. It is a mirror. Whatever enters it becomes the truth of Earth. Then he ended the broadcast. The skies answered with silence. The world divides in Kenya. Soldiers refused orders. They dropped their guns and sat down. In Brazil, people built a circle of candles and began to pray. In Canada, protesters stood in front of missile trucks and blocked them. But in many places, missiles still launched. Leaders still shouted. Fear still ruled. And the ships were getting closer to the gate. The sacrifice. Otis turned to Mara. "There's only one way to stop the weapons." Mara shook her head. "No, you don't have to do this." Bennett realized what Otis meant. "You'll use the device to pull them in?" Otis nodded. "If I send a pulse strong enough, it'll lock onto their energy. The gate will pull them. And me," Mara cried. "You won't survive that." Otis looked at the sky. "I was never supposed to." The final pulse, with hands shaking, Otis held the device high. He entered the final command. The alien symbols around the world all glowed in unison. The gate roared. The ocean stilled. Then, a beam of light shot into the sky. The 10 warships turned, caught in its force. They tried to fight it. They failed. One by one, they were pulled into the gate. Otis fell to his knees. His body began to fade. Mara screamed, "Otis!" He looked at her, smiled, and whispered, "Tell them. They were always worthy." Then he vanished. The gate closes. The ocean boiled. The sky flashed. And then, silence. The gate disappeared. The water calmed. And everywhere people fell to the ground, weeping, not in sadness, but in understanding. Otis was gone, but his message stayed. Biacha. Change begins. The next morning, strange things happened. Flowers grew in the cracks of concrete. Old enemies sat together in silence. Machines that once made weapons now grew food, and in the skies above 3 soft lights remained, watching, waiting, not gods, not rulers, just witnesses. Otis Carter was gone. The gate had closed, and for the first time in history, the whole world went quiet. No planes, no gunfire, no shouting leaders, just silence, and then change. His name in the wind. People across the world began saying Otis's name, not loudly, not as worship, but like a memory that had meaning. They wrote it in chalk on streets, carved it into trees, whispered it into the wind. He didn't fight for power. He stood for truth. He gave us the choice. The device reactivates. Mara sat alone in the mountain cave where Otis once stood. She held the alien device in her hand. It had been silent for days. But now it blinked. Once, then again, and then it spoke. The voice has been heard. But Earth has one more answer to give. Mara stared at it. What answer? The device glowed a soft green. Below. Deep within the Earth, miles under the surface, something ancient began to stir. Not alien, not human. Something older than both. Something that remembered everything. Strange weather, strange whispers. Across the world, strange things began happening. In Japan, the moon appeared red for 3 days straight. In Chile, a mountain glowed at night without heat or fire. In Ghana, a little boy walked into the forest and returned with silver leaves in his hair. He said only one word: awakening. Bennett feels the shift. Bennett sat near a river, trying to stay calm, but his skin felt hot. His heartbeat was louder. He looked around. Birds stopped singing. The wind whispered his name. Not out loud, but inside his mind. You were chosen too, he gasped, and understood. Otis may be gone, but the Earth was not finished. A map in the sky at midnight, all over the world. Stars formed a pattern. People took photos. Scientists panicked, but the children smiled. They drew the pattern on walls, on paper, in dirt. It looked like a map, but it had no cities, no roads, and no borders. Only points, and one symbol in the center. Mara sees Otis again. That night, Mara dreamed. She stood in a wide white space. No ground, no sky. Otis appeared, calm and glowing. She cried, "Are you real?" He smiled. "I'm not alive, but I'm not gone. The Earth is ready, but it needs someone to listen. Go to the center of the map. It begins there." She reached for him. He vanished. She woke up, crying, but clear. The final location, the alien device now displayed a location. South Sudan. Crater of Light. Bennett arrived with others. Scientists, farmers, elders, even children. All of them had seen the same dreams, felt the same pull. No guards, no weapons, just people, walking together across deserts toward the crater. The Earth speaks at the crater. The ground shimmered. Not hot, not cold, just alive. Everyone fell silent. A deep voice came, not male or female. It didn't use words, but everyone understood it. Otis gave you the sky, now we give you the ground. From this moment, Earth chooses who will shape her next. Not kings, not armies, but the listeners, the rememberers, the brave. Then the crater began to glow, and from the center rose a seed made of crystal, floating, waiting. The glowing seed hovered above the crater of light. No one dared touch it, even the birds stayed away. It spun slowly, humming softly like it was thinking. Mara stood closest. Bennett watched from behind, nervous. "It's alive," he whispered. "No," Mara replied. "It's listening." The message of the seed that night, everyone around the crater had the same dream. The same voice spoke. This seed holds memory. If planted, it will grow knowledge, peace, and connection. But if stolen, it will rot everything around it. People woke up shaken. Some smiled. Others feared what it meant. But one man did not sleep. The man in the gray coat, far from the crater, in a ruined city once controlled by Morrison, a man watched the stars. He wore a long gray coat. No one knew his, but they followed him. He had no powers, yet he made machines work again. He spoke of Otis, not with respect, but with jealousy. He gave the power away. I will take it back. They called him only one name, the Collector. The Shadow Network. The Collector moved fast. He built secret roads, used old satellites, spread messages full of fear. The seed is alien mind control. Otis was a weapon. They will take your children next. Some people believed him. They left their homes. They built camps. They armed themselves. Betrayal. At the crater-own morning, Mara noticed something missing. The seed was gone. Bennett ran through the crowd, panicked. It was taken! Guards. None. Guns? No one had any, but still, it was gone. A child said she saw a man in a gray coat walking away before dawn. The hunt begins. Mara and Bennett gathered a team, not soldiers, just listeners, people Otis had touched through dreams. They followed the path of whispers, strange signs and tech signals. They traveled through jungles, cities, deserts. Everywhere they went, people had stories. A man came with a machine. He promised protection. He said the seed would make him king of Earth. A world divided again. While Mara chased the seed, the world began to split. Those who wanted to protect the Earth, those who wanted to control it. Small fights broke out in towns. Fires burned near the oceans. Air felt heavier. Even animals were uneasy. Wolves howled during daylight and birds flew in circles for hours. The earth was waiting, watching. Again. The final warning in a small, ruined temple in Turkey. Mara finally found another message. From the old device, it blinked once, twice, then spoke softly. If the seed is forced to grow by greed, the earth will lock itself again. One more mistake, and the memory will be lost forever. Bennett dropped to his knees. We're running out of time. Mara closed her eyes. She remembered Otis's voice. The truth is never loud, but it always speaks. She whispered, then we'll follow the silence. The shadow Baysias. Part 14 ends. We see the collector standing inside a huge underground hall. The seed glows in front of him, but it looks sick now. Dark lines crawl across its surface. His men chant around it, thinking it will give them power. But something else is waking up inside the seed. Not peace. Not memory. Something twisted. Something waiting for the wrong hand to open it. Deep underground, in the collector's base, the seed was glowing. But not like before. Its green light had turned pale. It pulsed with dark veins now, spreading through the floor. And the air smelled strange. Like burnt wires. Like a storm was coming from inside the earth. The collector's mistake. The collector stood. In front of the seed, he smiled. Otis gave you away, but I will unlock your true power. He pressed his hand on the glass. The seed shook. It hummed, and then cracked. Not open, but wrong. A line split across its surface, leaking dark mist. His followers stepped back. The walls trembled. One woman whispered, "We were not supposed to touch it." But it was too late. The earth feels it all over the world. Small things began to break. Rivers dried overnight. Trees turned black from the root up. Roads cracked open, revealing red soil that smoked. Animals began to flee. Whales beached themselves. In silence, dogs barked at empty air. Birds dropped from the sky, still alive but blind. The earth wasn't attacking. It was protecting itself, closing itself, shutting down. Mara gets the signal in a quiet village. Mara and Bennett were resting. A child brought them a stone. It glowed with the same symbol Otis once used. Mara held it. The stone whispered a message only she could hear. He has broken the promise. If you do not return the seed, memory will fade. Forever. Mara looked at Bennett. We have to go back. The journey back. The team moved fast. They traveled by boat, train, foot, even through dust storms. Everywhere they passed, the signs grew worse. Fires that didn't burn hot. Glass that melted in cold air. People frozen mid-speech like time had stopped around them. And in the distance, always the same feeling. The ground was closing, as if Earth itself was pulling away from its people. The final chamber. Mara and her group reached the base's entrance. It was hidden behind a collapsed bridge, guarded by drones. But the drones didn't attack. They were confused. Sparks flew from their heads. The seed's energy was changing everything, even machines. Bennett whispered, "The Earth doesn't want to be found." Mara answered, "No, the Earth wants to be understood." They entered the dark tunnel. The seed's true form inside, the collector was laughing. He had placed the cracked seed on a metal throne. Its veins now touched every wall, wires, pipes, lights. Everything glowed with sick green. "It's mine now," he said. "The voice of Earth will answer to me." The seed blinked, then screamed, not with sound, with pressure. Mara fell to the floor. Bennett gasped. His ears bled. A guard collapsed, shaking. And in the middle of it all, the key. Seed opened. Not like a flower, like a wound. The judgment begins. A pulse hit the world. Everyone felt it. A mother in Egypt forgot her name. A scientist in Norway dropped his tools and cried. A blind man in India suddenly saw, but only shadows. The pulse touched every heart, every bone, every memory. The earth asked one silent question. Have you learned yet? And in the chamber, the collector screamed, I am the answer. The earth replied. The cracked seed shattered into ash, and from the center, a new light formed. Soft, golden, familiar. A shape stepped out. Otis returns. Mara stared, eyes wide. A tall figure of light now stood where the seed had been. It looked like Otis, but younger, clearer, made of stardust. It spoke with his voice, but deeper. I left my memory in the seed. You tried to steal it. So now, the earth chooses again. The collector stepped back. No, I was supposed to be. The figure raised a hand, and the collector vanished. Just gone. No scream, no fire, just absence. The earth opens again. The ground stopped shaking, the skies cleared. Water returned to rivers, trees uncurled their leaves, and in the distance, the gate reappeared, just for a moment, as if it was saying, you're not done yet, but you're learning. The world was quiet again. The gate floated in the sky, open just a little like a window half closed. Below it, the earth breathed. Soft winds, calm skies. The seed was gone. The collector was gone. But one thing remained in the chamber. Second seed, small, silver. Still, the voice of Otis returns. The glowing figure that looked like Otis stood beside Mara. It was not really him, but it was his memory, his words, his final gift. It turned to her and said, this seed will not grow by hands. It will grow by hearts. Mara stepped forward, so did Bennett. Others joined. No guns, no shouts, no fear. The figure smiled. Then listen, one last time. The last message. The walls faded away. Everyone in the chamber now stood under a night sky, stars spinning, glowing, forming shapes. The Otis figure raised its hands, and the stars spoke. You were never chosen because you were strong. You were chosen because you could still change. You saw war and wanted peace. You saw power and wanted meaning. You lost leaders and found each other. Choice or control. Then the stars showed two paths. One showed bright. Cities, machines flying through forests, people laughing, healing, sharing. The other showed gray towers, loud voices, weapons in every hand, and skies choked with smoke. Both futures are possible, said the figure, but only one will survive. You must choose, not through votes, not through war, but through how you live. The seed will grow based on what you believe. Return to the world. Mara held the silver seed. It pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Then it floated into the air and flew into the sky. High above the clouds, it burst into light. No explosion, just light, soft, warm, wide. And from that moment on, the earth changed. The world years later, 5 years passed. The gate never opened again, but it didn't need to. People remembered. They didn't become perfect, but they tried. And the earth responded. Deserts grew flowers. Ice returned to melting mountains. Oceans became clean again. Even cities changed. Technology served people, not power. Machines helped forests regrow, and every town had a quiet place called Otis Ground. No statues, no flags, just space to remember. Child's question one day, a small girl asked Mara, "Will Otis come back?" Mara smiled gently. "No, sweetheart. He already did." The child blinked. "When?" Mara pointed to the sky. "The day we listened." Final line. And in the deepest part of the earth, where the second seed had landed, a soft green sprout broke through stone. It reached toward the surface. It would take years to grow, but it had already started, because this time, humanity was finally ready.